Ross, after a few days, you had a better chance to look at that Richmond game and what transpired. What have you made of it?
Yeah, exactly what I thought. The first 5 minutes was really costly, where they were really proactive and more, not energised, but we were just, a little bit reactive. They were really proactive. We were a bit flat-footed around the clearances, and they were able to capitalise. Their first 3 or 4 scores were from stoppages. One out of our attacking mid, where they swept it and surged, and a couple of simple errors of, a mishandle or a missed. And then around 2 D50 stoppages, which hasn't been the trend all year, where they kicked 2, we're all flat-footed. So after that, I thought we got to them really quickly and responded. And our effort was really strong. And we just made some errors. And we had some real opportunities. We had more entries and probably more. We had more kicks inside 50, even though it mightn't have felt like that. But we just missed simple opportunities to execute. And that's really what we said. That was the main focus of the review. Our clearance work was very strong. We didn't defend as well as we had on their entries, but in saying that, we still had opportunities. At half-time, it was pretty much level, maybe 6 points. And in the third quarter, as always, I was quoted as most underrated stat, particularly in tight games, is conversion. Grand finals have been won and lost on them consistently, and Andrew Ireland, who I really respect, said it's the most underrated stat. So I think they kicked 6-2, and from the boundary, a torp, and we were missing, even early in the first quarter, some set shots and some snaps from in front of goal. So that just put a bit of a gap on us and made it hard from there. So exactly my instincts was the start and conversion, really. Where we had our best, I know they were very good, obviously. I thought they were a little bit, I'm not sure if harder was the right term, but they were stronger in the pressure stakes probably over the course of the game. So we've been very consistent. Our effort interstate or at home has been strong. But we know the start's crucial in AFL football. They silence the crowd. So, yeah, clearly we go to Marvel Stadium. Essendon have lost a few on the trot. But I looked at their form. I think it was Geelong and Collingwood by less than a kick, wasn't it? Or, Collingwood and Sydney. So we're looking to start well, and they'll be hungry for a win. So equal forces meet each other, but, we're going over there really determined to bring the best version of ourselves.
When you look at their team, and I know you haven't really tagged much this year or for a while, but Dylan Shield, he gets a lot of it, and the knock's been on him that his kicking isn't fantastic. With a player like him that gets 30, like how do you...
I've seen him at 37.
How do you address a player like that, and can you force him to kick more than handball, because his handball seems to be working? How do you approach a Dylan Shield?
Yeah, look, I think philosophically it applies. Every week you come up against great mids, so everyone's capable. You've got to respect all, but clearly Dustin gets a little bit more attention, Nat gets a little bit more attention. So we like our team defence. We like that we're being proactive. I don't want to get too defensive on you and tag people. So, but look, we'll consider it. We'll look at it. But Merritt's a great player. But it's about, if you just make good decisions when it's your turn to make them defensively, everyone can cope with it. So we know his best is very good. Like, he's having a super year. And those inside mids get judged very harshly about their disposal when you think the modern game, how much pressure it puts on them. He's an immaculate preparer, is my understanding. Wants to play his best footy, so we probably won't tag, but we'll make sure that we respect his ability, really. We'd like to be proactive in there. That's a good question, though, really good question.
Do you need your forwards to be a little bit less predictable when you're going in there, Ross? You were going in long a lot last weekend.
Last weekend. Yeah, there's a bit about pressure, but I just thought we had options on in the first quarter. They were out 3 or 4 times. We would have shown 8 clips where Jesse clearly 2 more where he should have just hit him. We had players out often that we could have hit. I thought it was the execution. There was a few times we went long, but sometimes you're forced to. And I thought our crumb was better. We would have liked a few less big spoils to take out our crummers, but it's more that consistency of Michael Walters gets the ball, he sees a free target. Lubb was very effective pushing forward. We think they're real threats. That chemistry is still taking a while. But, we're getting entries, we're getting opportunities, but we don't want to keep talking about it. We'd like to get better quicker with it.
You've been rewarding performance by staying pretty stable with your selection. After 2 losses, do you need to look at some changes at selection, like a Connor Blakely in or something like that?
Yeah, he's the most obvious one. I think I heard all the noise around Connor, and the reality is the team had been very consistent. We could easily been in a little bit better position, and people have been doing their jobs. But with 2 losses, you need to look more closely, and also, you're always trying to add to your team and bring a freshness if you can. So he'll come under serious consideration, but it's not a dictatorship. It's certainly working with collaboration and valuing your assistants and respecting them and all the players involved. So we need to go and have selection. They're just preparing on Essendon now. It's a short week for us, and we'll get to our initial discussion later this afternoon. But Connor would have trained on, and the work he's done, so yeah, he's under serious consideration.
Is there, given that you're a young developing team, is there a lesson for your team in not to pursue the same method as Richmond, but their total belief in that method, like the way they surge and the way, even when the ball spills, it spills to one of theirs because they're always there and they get numbers at the contest?
Look, we looked at it. We gave them some numbers because we sort of collapsed into the contest a bit. But look, their surge, the competition's staying, and it's been for them, and they've had some really big injury challenges. So I think they've had their up and down moments as well. I think they've had some up and down performances as well. So, yeah, but to your point, yeah, it's obvious how we've changed offensively, and it's never been harder to score in the AFL, and we've improved our scoring. And we didn't score from the back half, but we had entries where we should have scored, and we would have. So our movement's been fine. It's just that finish. So, but you're right. Belief comes from delivering consistently. And when you've been to the absolute highest level with it and won one, you understand that it can get it done if you all buy in and play your part. The total sums becomes greater than the sum of the individual parts. So that's where we're all trying to get to, and we've still got that opportunity in front of us. We've certainly built some belief and some confidence in what we're capable of through action. But you're right. There's greater levels to go to with that for us, and we're keenly pursuing it.
Just back on Blakely, if he does come back in, will he be ready to go full throttle, or do you need to kind of ease him in a bit of the time?
I thought controversial was a bit rich, Justin. Controversial.
Controversial? What was that? On the article? Or was that the headline?
Yeah, that was very strong.
I don't do the headlines.
In this state, anyway. What was your question?
So if he does come back in,
is
he going to be in pretty good nick in terms of full game time and things like that, or do you need to kind
of he's built, and certainly you can't pick AFL teams with restrictions because it's too debilitating on everyone else. So if he was selected, he should be able to play. No one plays 100% of the game, so he'd play a midfield or a halfback or half forward percentage, and he's ready to go. Yeah, but if you ask players, they're ready to go every week. But that's why we have great sports science, strength and conditioners that tell you exactly where they're at, because we have all their past benchmarks. We understand what their absolute best is and where they're at in comparison. So clearly we think, because it's not 1 week, it's last week's training and this week's plus that. So it's really a 2-week build.
You've been able to fill the holes in the midfield pretty well, obviously, with Neil leaving. What would someone like Blakely add if and when he does come back?
Yeah, he's a great ball winner, great agility, strong tackler, really good football brain, and flexibility because he can play elsewhere.
The fact that Peel didn't play, and you spoke about freshness, is that an advantage for him and also a couple of others to bring in just to...
Yeah, there's a lot of theoretical models that can help you, and it's that balance of this session. It's highly contested. You're trying to simulate in anything. You can get the density of work in a compressed. You don't have to do it over 2 hours. You can really compress the density of work. So it's really, in some respects, maybe even more challenging, except the stress of the result isn't there. So, we think they should get to the line healthier, and fresh. Yeah.
Some good news reading your injury list last night on Harley, that he got through a pretty searching session.
Yeah, obviously me in particular, I'm circumspect, and Harley's circumspect, and we all should be But he trained really well with that session on the weekend, and he's progressing. But we just want to stay in the moment with him. But yeah, that's from Jason Webber's report. No one's across it more than Jason, because it's been such a long term. The reports come to me and I have the meetings and I check in, but it's not something I'm dwelling on. Those guys at the front line are my bigger focus at the minute. But yeah, we keep our fingers crossed.
How's he holding up mentally? Because obviously how's he holding up mentally with all of those setbacks along the way?
Yeah, well, he's committed, I think any significant event, you're sort of in shock, denial, anger, then you give it meaning and you move on. So, and different personalities process that at a different pace. So he's certainly been able to do that again, get back on the horse and go. I've often said if it was me, I would have flicked the bails and been elsewhere by now. But yeah, his persistence and perseverance has made him a stronger character and football character. And, we just got to hold our breath a little bit,
How close is he this weekend or next weekend in the waffle?
No, I think, what did it say on the...
2 weeks.
Yeah. You're more tuned in than... Because I know it's happening, but yeah, I think, 2 weeks. So it wouldn't be this game, it'd be the one after, AFL 11.
Ross, is there any chance you could open up a spot for the mid-season draft?
It's a good question. There's a list management meeting. We've had a couple of builds. I think it's not more. So you've got to have the ruling, you've got to have a long-term injury or season ending, but it's not black and white because they can come back on, is my understanding. And then it's really about what you think's out there for your list and if it's worth it. So that's beyond my scope. Really, Peter Bell oversees that now. We've restructured. Peter Bell oversees our list manager, who oversees our recruiters. So it's different levels of accountability. So Peter will drive that through, and at the right time they'll call me in. And the recruiters will say, there's someone that we would like to take for that 6 month with a potential to upgrade them. So I'm not sure that's the case for us yet.
Okay. Would you be more looking for a ready-made player or a youngster that maybe you can get in and get them?
Yeah, certainly not my selection. Ideally for us, and I think it's where you see yourself, if there's a Tim Kelly sitting out there, because a lot of people knew he could play, but I think when you're rebuilding, do you take him at first round or whatever? So they're hard decisions. So if they think there's someone really worth taking, young or old, and they benefit your list and there's an opportunity, but ideally it would be young for us. Ideally. That's what we would like to keep adding to Brayshaw and Chera, ideally. You want someone that could come in and, unless there's some clubs, I think, say Essendon, Ruckman availability, there might be someone that real need, but I think ultimately you're always trying to make longer term decisions for your club, unless there's a contingency like the ruck that needs to be filled.
How are your young mids going? Brayshaw Chera plays halfback a bit, but how are Brayshaw and Chera going?
But we've put Chera in the midfield. His last score against Adelaide was unbelievable. He was fantastic. And he's been strong. And we've played him in some different spots because Walters, Tucker, Mundy, Pfeiffer and Conker's been in there. So he's been squeezed out a little bit at times, but they're still on massive learning curves. They're 9 games into their second year. What they've done to maintain their preparation and their attitude and play without really going for, end up crawling, has been on their knees because they're physically worn out, has been unbelievable. So, we're still 2 years off seeing the best of them, but they're really already strong contributors for us, tough mentally and run hard.
Is Brayshaw struggling to hold his spot for this week? He's had sort of a bit of roller coaster. I think he had 13, 21 and 10, and I know there's other stats that you see, but at the moment, do you feel like he's one of those players that either needs a rest or a bit of form down the waffle, or are you happy with the way he's going?
Yeah, 2 points to that. I've never walked in a review and rolled out numbers, because everyone knows when you're getting, but it's what you do when you haven't got the ball. Even if 5's best on the ground, you might only have the ball in your hands for a minute. So the other 99 minutes, you've got to do a lot of work to help your teammates and help defend the opposition. And some of that may be spreading and attacking. So as a coach, there's a lot of things you can, and a player you can do to hold your spot, even if you're not winning a huge amount of the ball. Clearly there's some fundamentals on that. So that's the first point. The second point is, like the earlier discussion with Connor, I find it very difficult to be as transparent as you guys would like, because even if I have some thoughts, if I put them now before we've discussed it with match committee or the player, all I cause is a headache internally. So I am a little bit limited But everyone gets discussed, so we'll have a look. Yeah, but he's a quality young player. He's been fantastic for us.
Ross, just quickly, the concussion to Sam Sturt's keeping him out for another 4 weeks. Have you had a chance to chat with him? Has he had some advice that it's not safe to play, or how's he going?
Yeah, well, he's not going to play for 4 weeks, so we're on the conservative path on that. I think it'll be 60 days, I think the time frame. We went through all the steps, so go and get the scan, take all the advice, how long to mitigate any risk. He's a really important young player, has shown some really good signs. First time he's played against men, the lighter body, so he gets an opportunity to work on his conditioning, build his body up. We like to eradicate as best we can any risk with concussion, and for where he's at, because it was the second one in the year. So the club's formulated a really strong plan, and my job's to check in, and then we'll fly in with the team. We'll get back to Melbourne. So we're doing a lot right in that space with him.